Hello, good day, and thank you so much for joining today's Profit from Property Academy 7 Steps to Wholesaling Real Estate. I'm excited to present to you this class today. Many of you may or may not know. For those of you who do not, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Yas Anderson, your international real estate agent with eXp Realty DR. The DR stands for Dominican Republic. I have turned about 300 plus properties in the United States, guys, and over 150 million funded in real estate transactions. I got started into real estate business back in 2005, which was 20 years ago, as a real estate wholesaler. Okay. Many people want to know how to become a real estate investor with no money, no credit, or certifications that are required. So, how I got into wholesaling is simply that reason, because at the time I didn't have any certifications, no money, and no credit. So, I learned how to wholesale real estate. I was unable to get my real estate license after failing a test many times to finally pass the test to be denied a real estate license for not so clean criminal background. Now, I did have a incident happen. However, I did get first offender, and the charge isn't even on my record today. However, I still was denied the real estate license. With that being said, I did not allow that no to stop me. So I studied and I learned and I partnered with a company that was able to teach me and show me the way. All right. My first real estate mentor taught me how to wholesale real estate. And now today I am an international real estate agent. Okay, so let's move right along. This is a disclaimer. All right, I want to give you guys a disclaimer for today's class. The contents contained here in are just for informational purposes. And yes consultant and or any agents that have provided this guide as an example of common steps taken in real estate. All right, so if you have the workbook, please do follow along with me. Okay, today we'll talk about the success receipts that I have. I'll be able to prove to you and show you my success receipts of how I actually was able to generate more than my annual salary on my most recent job at the time, selling one property. Okay. You're going to meet your coach today. You're going to meet me, Dr. Yas Anderson, and learn how I got started in real estate. I just explained that to you, how I got started in real estate. All right. And why to choose wholesaling. You're going to learn about the benefits of real estate investing. Okay. As an investor, you want to know all facets of real estate investing. Okay, so today you're going to learn the 7 steps to wholesaling, an in-depth step-by-step guide to wholesaling real estate, some tips to become successful. Okay, breakdown of important strategies and stuff that you'll need to know to become successful as a real estate investor. So say yes to Yas, because when you say yes to Yas, you're saying yes to yourself, because what I'm going to do is put you in position to become a real estate investor. So meet your coach, meet your coach, meet your coach. Again, I am award-winning real estate investor and financial consultant, the CEO of Yes to Yas Consulting, based in Atlanta. Okay, and now, like I've told you, also, Yes to Yas Global, my company in Punta Cana, as an international real estate agent with eXp, where I help you buy, sell, rent, and flip property. Okay, now not just nationally, but globally. My clients range from Fortune 500 CEOs to small families investing in their very first home. My goal is to teach you how to simply profit from property. Okay, my mission, my sole purpose for starting this business was to help men and women, okay, break generational poverty by increasing their cash flow and showing them how to get cash flow through real estate investing, credit building. That's very important. Financial education and teaching you how to leave a legacy for your family. We all are here to learn to build and generate wealth. Wealth is not for today. You're generating and building this wealth for your legacy, for an inheritance, for those generations that come up behind you. I think that's the part that a lot of people get misconstrued about, building wealth. They think you're building it to live this lavish lifestyle now. No, wealth is for the future. Okay. Wealth is for the future. So my real estate journey, it commenced in 2005, as I said. After finding myself unemployed, my bills were stacking high. I could barely make ends meet, guys. All right. I became so frustrated with my situation and desperate to change it. I was tired of giving another human being the power of hiring, okay, and firing me as they desired. I wanted to work, but this time I wanted to work for myself. If this sounds familiar, okay, keep listening, all right? It was then at that time that a friend of mine had introduced me into real estate industry. This friend who I am very close with today, many of you may even have heard from this friend or know this friend or even conducted some real estate transactions. So there I was able to learn everything as an assistant to a renowned real estate investor. And I ended up, like I said, selling more than 300 flips, resulting in, at that time, 75 million in real estate transaction sales. Today, we're at about 150 plus million in real estate transaction sales. But once again, life threw me a curveball, guys. It threw me a major curveball, right? My first company, Pristine Properties of Atlanta, it was dissolved in 2010 after that 2008 crash. Let me tell you, it was a mess. So I was here at a crossroads yet again. So I went back to school. I completed my college degree only to end up still unemployed and back in debt. Okay. At that moment, I had to make a choice. And that choice at that moment was either sink or swim. And many of you today are in that same position. And I'm telling you, it is time you learn to swim. To swim. Okay. So I continued to try to find my way. I continued and just kept fighting and continued trying to find my way and make my mark. All right. But it was in 2013 when I became a mom. I knew something had to change from dead end job to dead end job and nowhere to turn as a single mom. Listen, I suffered from postpartum depression. And one day I sat around having yet another pity party with myself. And I said, you know what? I decided to give my own business one last shot. And that's how I birthed Yes to Yas, because it was finally time to say yes to myself. Okay. It was then that I founded Yes to Yas Consulting in 2015, which turned out to be the best decision that I have made to date. Okay. To date. Hands down. So, hands down, best decision. So let's jump right into the proof, okay? Because I want you guys to check my receipts, right? Currently or during that time, my average fee charge per deal was $15,000. And the highest payment I received on a deal is more than $34,000. Okay. So certainly twice what I normally would charge, which was 15K on this deal here that you see. This is more than I earned working a full year at my last job. As you can see here, this is my ADP earnings statement. This is my real earnings statement. And you see what my income was. And then, of course, you see the HUD right here for this wholesale property that I did. And you see right here below. Okay. To the seller, Yes to Yas, $34,363,000. Guys, so there you have it. Okay. The above image is an example of an old pay stub from 2013 compared to the wholesale contract in my fee. That's what you see here on the screen. So I want to encourage you to keep going. All right. Start your wealth building journey now. It is so important. It is so important that you start your wealth building journey now. I want to encourage you again to keep going. Okay. Because see, here are the receipts. You see on this image here, that old pay stub, what I was making at my job. Okay. Now look what I made on one contract wholesale fee. Okay. So let me ask you this. Are you ready to become a real estate boss? Have you ever said, I want to invest in real estate, but don't have the real estate license? That was me. Okay. I want to invest in real estate, but don't have any money. That was me. I want to invest in real estate, but don't want to actually own the properties and worry about toilets and sinks and things like that and roofs. That was me. I want to create an additional stream of income without any money. That was me. If you have said yes to any of the above, you are certainly ready to become a real estate investor and are ready to increase your cash flow. Okay. This blueprint is the blueprint for you that's going to help you do that. You're going to learn how to start with little to no funds to generate a figure income from the comfort of your home. Okay. So who's ready to get started? Who's ready to get started? Let's jump right in. Okay. Why choose wholesaling? Why choose wholesaling? Why choose wholesaling? Simply because it involves finding a great real estate deal, okay, and then selling it to someone who has an interest, selling it to another party, okay, or buyer that has the same interest in the deal. But in this process, you become the middleman, okay? So if you are good at networking, philanthropy, socializing, things of that nature, this will be a very good way to start in real estate investing for you. This will be ideal because what you essentially are is just like what any other agent is. Okay, the middleman. You're the one who is going to put the buyer and the seller together, right? So for that, you need to be paid a fee. Being the middleman means you're not selling the property. You are the person that, again, facilitates the deal. Your job is to find the great property, and that's it. Find it. Once you find it, that's the most difficult part of this whole process. Is finding the property. You get that deal under contract with the seller, and then you sell that contract to someone else who would like to have those terms with the seller. Okay. You're not looking to make money off the property itself. What you're doing is you rather make money off the contract by collecting a fee from another interested investor who wants that contract. Okay. So, any questions? If anyone on here doesn't understand that just yet, if you don't understand, please write your questions down and save your questions, because I'll tell you, when I first learned how to wholesale, I had so many questions because I was like, wow, how can you do that? But it's simply arbitrage. This is America. This is what America was built on, capitalism. So, while it might be surprising to you, it is very, very ideal and very common. Okay. Wholesaling real estate is a great way for you to generate income and build a network in the real estate industry, because now investors are coming to you because you have the deals. Okay. So before taking a leap of faith, spend some time learning the process, though, okay? By researching your market and building a strong buyer's list, you can help ensure your wholesaling efforts are much more successful this way. Because while finding the property, could take some time and effort, you have to have someone to sell the property to. So just as important as that is building your buyer's list. You want to build a buyer's list. How do you build a buyer's list? We'll talk about that as we get further into the training. So some benefits of real estate wholesaling. Again, no special license, no special certificate required. Nobody's going to check your credit to wholesale a property. And generally, you don't really need any money. You may need very little money, and we'll talk about that as we get further into the training, okay? But in some instances, you won't need any money. And I will explain to you and teach you how to actually do it with absolutely no money, okay? It's going to help you increase your cash flow and start building wealth, okay? So let's jump into the 7 steps like a pro. The 7 wholesaling steps like a pro. We're going to we're going to break down each step, okay, on the next page. But the first step is to locate the property. You want to locate the property. You want to be in an area where you see properties appreciating. They have the value. You see other dump trucks on the street. You see some action around there. So you want to locate that property. Then once you locate the property, you want to run your numbers. You want to run your numbers. If you don't know how to run your numbers and do numbers, we'll talk about that in another training, or I might have time to break it down today. But simply running the numbers is knowing what that property is going to be worth once it is renovated. Okay, how much renovations does it need? And then how much are they asking for the property? All right. So those are the 3 most important numbers you need to have. What it's going to be worth, which is the ARV, after repair value, your budget, how much it needs, okay, to get fixed, and then how much does the seller want? That is the most important part, guys, is that those numbers, okay? Those numbers have to line up, and you have to have margins in there for this all to work, okay? Third, you're going to find a seller, okay? 4th, negotiate the deal. 5, find a buyer. 6, close the deal. 7, secure the bag. So essentially, those are the 7 steps to wholesaling like a pro. You want to locate the property, run the numbers, find the seller, negotiate the deal, find the buyer, close the deal, secure the bag. Okay. And we're talking a big bag. Okay. So let's jump right into step 1, the wholesaling process. We're going to jump right into that. Locating the right property. Locating the right property. The best properties for wholesale deals usually are distressed properties of some kind, okay? Distressed properties can come in a few forms, guys. They can be abandoned houses that need a lot of repairs, perhaps owned by a bank or up for foreclosure. There are many foreclosure auctions that you can attend in your city depending on where you live. What is your city or your state's laws for foreclosures, okay? Do a simple internet search. The internet, guys, is life-saving. Like the internet, you have access to anything, okay? So you want to access the internet to search for them. Houses that have been on the market for a long time, okay, but you can get them better terms as owners get more desperate. Listen, that's a very, very good technique or strategy. If you go online and you see properties that been sitting for sale for 90 plus days, those are generally deals that you can go and renegotiate and try to get better terms and get those properties sold. Okay. Places to search. You're going to use, your regular real estate sites that we all know of, like Zillow, Redfin, to look for deals in your area. Additionally, you can go to sites like Craigslist or homesforsalebyowner.com and find properties that are offered under better sellers terms. Now, let's talk about step 2. Step 2 is knowing the numbers, know the numbers, know the numbers. This is very important. I would hate for you to find a property, find a buyer, go through all of that. The numbers don't work. So you must do this in order and complete step 2 next. Okay. The goal is simply to know how much you need to put up for the deal and what you think you can sell the contract for. The difference between the two is your net fee. So let me give you an example of that property that I showed you in the beginning, okay? Now, that property, I think it was, for my memory's sake, I think it was like 75,000 or something like that. And I sold it for 120. So if I have the contract with me and the original owner for 75,000, I'm going to now do a second contract between me and the end buyer for the 120. The difference between the two numbers is my fee, okay? And your fee can be anywhere from $2,000 and up, okay? Depending on how great the deal is, how much equity or room is spread is in there for you to put your fee on top, okay? But remember, you don't want to put too much because you want to be able to sell the property and leave some meat on the bone for the investor so that your property is attractive to them, okay? See, in that deal, I was able to negotiate and get that property so cheap that I was able to make $34,000, okay? So remember, your aim is to sell the contract, not the property. So you want to take different costs into account to make sure your fee is solid. Okay, you want to make sure your fee is solid. Okay, costs to consider include evaluation, inspection, and an appraisal. All right, and that stuff you won't have to pay for because you're the wholesaler. The investor will have to pay for that, or their lender will typically do that. So step 3, remember we're done 7 steps. So now we're on step 3. Follow along, okay? Finding the seller or finding the owner, because most of these properties, like we said, are distressed. They're abandoned and things like that. So you've got to do some research to look up and find who actually owns it so that you can sell the contract or make a deal, see if they're interested. Okay, so sometimes a listing will not show details of the owner, so you'll have to become your own personal investigator. You know what I'm saying? So again, if this is you, this is a great business model ideal for you to get started in real estate. You can go to your local county assessor website. You can type in the address and find the name and the owners. This won't give you their contact details, but it will help you to get to know whom to search for on places like Google and things like that, because they will reveal an email or a phone number. Finally, there are apps. There are apps and there are tools that you can use to skip trace or to track down those owners. And some of those apps are D4D, which means driving for dollars, PropStream, Batch Dollar, Deal Machine, and Landglide. These apps are not free. So this is where you may have to spend a couple of dollars. But I'll tell you, that deal that I made $34,000 on, I didn't use any of that stuff. All I was, except for driving for dollars myself. I was just driving, door knocking the old fashioned way back in the day, where we just drove around, and I was knocking on the door and I was able to obtain that deal. And me and that seller did that contract right in front of the property on the hood of my Toyota Corolla. Okay. So now let's get into step number 4, the wholesaling process. Now this is where we get to the nitty gritty. It's time to negotiate a deal. Okay. So with that being said, to be able to negotiate a deal, a great deal is impressive. It's imperative, to your success as a wholesaler. The better the deal, the easier it is to find an investor. Okay. So make sure, one, you have the buyer's list, your investors list, and make sure you have a great deal. Okay. You got a great deal and a buyer's list, your deal will get sold. Okay. The better the deal, the easier it is to find an investor. All right. I'm going to say that again. The better the deal, the easier it is to find an investor and for you to make a great fee. Okay. So wholesale and real estate investing is all about profit margin. The larger the potential profit margin for you or your end buyer, the better for your fee. So you want to negotiate an amazing price on the front end on the AB side for the property, which the seller will, really, really love. And then you make that fee in between for your B2C contract for your end buyer. All right. This is where it can help you, really change your life. All right. So make sure you understand those two. You can certainly make some things change. Okay. Also, it can also help if you hire an appraiser or contractor. As a wholesaler, it's not necessary, but if you do have them, I have them, of course, because with Profit from Property Academy, we help people actually do their deals from A to Z. So I have a whole team that I hire to help you get through your process. All right. So this is going to help you know the value of the home, a more precise number, if you will. Okay. And the opportunity for a buyer to create a lot of motivation. So ways to entice a seller is to go lower on pricing, include highlighting that there will be no upfront fees because there's no realtors involved. You want to make sure you let the seller know that this is not a listing sale. There's no fees to be negotiated and all of that stuff. Okay. Typically, the end buyer is going to pay any associated fees, right? So, guys, when you entice the seller to go lower on pricing, make sure you include and highlight that there will be no upfront fees because there are no realtors involved at all at the closing, and escrow will be covered. Okay. For a distressed seller, these can be emotionally valuable triggers that will motivate them to go lower on the price than they ever thought they would. Okay. Because a lot of times they want to just get rid of that property because they're stuck having to pay taxes on it. They're probably getting notices from the city or the county because it's distressed, right? So that's a little extra tip there for you. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. So let's jump right into step 5. Step 5 is the wholesaling process. You want to find your buyer. Step 5 of the wholesaling process, you want to find your buyer. Once you have your contract negotiated, you've done that, okay, and you signed, you'll be able to clock to find the right buyer for the deal. Okay. You typically want to sell to an investor because they're always in the market for a great deal. Okay. So here are a few ways to do that. We buy house signs. You see those signs on the side of the road that say we buy houses. You see them all the time. Real estate investing clubs in your area. These are places where you go to find a buyer, guys. Remember, I told you I'll tell you and show you how to build your buyers list. This is what I'm doing right now. Networking at foreclosure auctions, social media platforms, and advertising. You want to advertise and build that buyers list. Every investor is different. Once you find one, call them to build a relationship, okay, and find out what their needs are. Then start building a list, including their preferences, so you know whom to contact when you find a deal that suits them. It will save you time in the long run. So many of my investors are repeat buyers. Okay. So that's how important it is to build a relationship and build that buyers list because they'll keep coming back to you. If you got a good deal and they made money, they're going to keep coming back to you. Step 6 is closing the deal. Once you find the right buyer for the contract, you will both drive to the title company's office in Georgia. It's typically an attorney to complete the deal. It will take about 60 to 90 minutes and the contract will be assigned to the buyer and the deal is complete. The deal is complete. The title is transferred to the investor. And just like that, it's time for step 7, baby. You just secured the bag. Okay. You just brokered a deal and collected your fee. Now it's off to the bank, baby. As you can see, wholesale real estate can be fun. It can be an exciting way to invest in real estate with very little money in the deal. All it takes is the knowledge needed to find the deal and negotiate a great deal. Okay, some tenacity to build your list and market your deals, and the courage to simply start, guys. I know it sounds crazy because when I first heard it, I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me I could find this property, put it on contract with this person. I have no intentions whatsoever on buying it. I don't have a quarter, but I'm going to go find somebody else who does want to buy it. I'm a middleman it. Put my fee on top, long as it makes sense. They want it. We're gonna close the deal, and I'm gonna get paid. Wow. Listen, if you're a hustler, listen, this is an amazing way to get started building wealth through real estate investment. Okay. I'm here to tell you because I was blown away. I just thought it was illegal. I was like, this can't be real. And some people still think wholesaling is illegal, but that's just their mindset hasn't shifted. That's just like with anything you purchase. Okay, if you go to your local clothing store, grocery store, whatever, everything is bought wholesale and then sold to someone else at retail. Okay, so tips to becoming a successful wholesaler fast. Listen, number one, you want to network with other real estate professionals. If you're an introvert, this one will make you very uncomfortable, but it's necessary. It is necessary to network, all right? Keep up with the trends, world events, such as, the recent pandemic can have a drastic effect on the real estate industry. So keep up with what's happening, especially right now in our current economy, our current climate of our current economy here in the United States. Okay. Think outside the box. To succeed as a wholesaler, you will need to learn how to think outside the box. You have to see potential where many don't see anything. Okay. You have to be willing to go a little bit further. All right. Willing to do a little bit more than the rest to succeed in this business. But to make a 5-figure fee for simply putting two people together, I would say the work is worth it. Learn to negotiate. Again, if you know how to negotiate and you have those skills and you can do them effectively, you will be able to craft better and better deals as you go on your journey where both sides are happy. Because that's the goal. When both sides are happy, that's when you make money. Okay. And also have some patience. Be patient because you're new to this process, so it might seem a little bit overwhelming at first. Some challenges may arise, but give yourself the gift of time and patience. Trust me, you will get through it. Once you do it once, I'm telling you, you will not want to stop. You want to build those relationships. You never know whom else is looking to connect or looking to become an investor. So other agents, when I was out here wholesaling heavy, before I broke into all the other facets of real estate, I made sure I built a lot of relationships with people, especially other real estate agents, because real estate agents have investor clients too. And a lot of times they can't find them any good deals on the MLS. A lot of times their investors want off market deals. So if you have a relationship with agent Jane Doe and she knows you're a wholesaler and you keep good deals and she has an investor, you two can partner up and work together and make a bag together. Okay. So remember that. Remember that. Remember the 6 degrees of separation rule. Nothing can elevate you more than building a real, authentic relationship with people from all walks of life. You never know where your next sale, your next client, or referral will come from. Okay. I can't preach that to you enough. I've been blown away in this industry. So many stories on how things, came into play. And that right there could not be more true. Okay. So, tips to becoming a successful real estate wholesaler again fast. Websites and systems. Websites and systems. Most people will only want to do deals with professionals. Okay. So, having a well designed website will help you build credibility. It doesn't have to be anything expensive or extravagant. You want to get a website, Wix, GoDaddy, they're affordable. So that's why I said as you grow in this, you may want to start spending a few dollars, but it's not absolutely necessary. Okay. In addition to having automated systems in place that can help you generate leads. This is for my more advanced people because it's not necessary, but it will help you and it will save you a lot of time. But also, these are not to take place of you. It's just a substitute or an addition because again, the authentic relationships and conversations and communications and things like that are what are most effective to me. So these systems are just for you to have in place to help you generate leads and to save time. Okay. Identifying property, that's very important. The simple truth is this: in real estate investing success, it often comes down to your ability to identify and price properties competitively. That's what it's going to come down to. So one way to access reliable market research is to partner with a licensed realtor or buy into those access apps, like I said, because to run numbers, you have to know what the ARV is, okay? What properties are selling for in that area. So you as a wholesaler, not licensed agent or anything like that, you will need an agent friend, buddy, or partner, or these apps that can do the research for you and give you the comps and let you know what the property is going to be worth, because you don't want to lowball the value or inflate the value, because then you don't have a deal. Okay. So work on your buyers list before investors start searching for their first wholesale deal. It is good for you to get into getting your buyers list. You want to have someone to sell it to, or at least have those agent partners, like I said, who have investors looking for property. But building a strong buyers list will help make sure that okay, where your deals are going. All right. And that's very important because you know that they're serious and they're ready to buy. So there's several ways to build that buyers list. Again, attending the real estate events, networking, email marketing, and social media. All right. Very, very important. Many successful wholesalers also rely on those bandit signs we talked about. You see on the side of the road. Remember, it is in your best interest to know whom you are selling to before you ever find a deal. So get those buyers lists going. Okay. And let me give you some final tips before we close out. Some final tips. Here's some final tips for wholesaling fast. You want to develop an escape clause. All right, an escape clause. This is something basically you'll put for the risk of you potentially not finding an end buyer for you to get out of the contract. All right. So that's what the escape clause is. And then why you should have one is simply this: because in wholesaling a deal, any number of problems can arise, such as the property not passing an inspection, the property doesn't appraise for a high enough value, or even title issues. So you want to be able to write a contract in a way that provides you an opportunity to exit or get out of the situation. Okay. However, you can't get carried away with escape clauses. Use this as few as possible. Okay. But have at least one to get you out of the deal. Now let's go into the pros and cons of wholesaling. Number one, the pro: you start with no license or no experience. You do not need a real estate license to wholesale, but it is usually the entryway for many who then become real estate agents. Voila. Okay. No cash needed. Bad credit is accepted, but you should be working on your credit. We should not be out here with bad credit. Okay. So in wholesaling, you are just the middleman, not the purchaser. So you don't have to qualify for a loan or anything like that. Okay. Some cons are: it's no guaranteed income. It's no silver ball that's gonna say you're gonna wholesale a deal once a month or once a week. So it's not a guaranteed income. Okay. It's what you put into it is what you're gonna get out. It's not a stable paycheck every 2 weeks. Not that a stable paycheck every 2 weeks is even enough. Okay. And then finding serious buyers, that can be a con. Everyone is a buyer until it's time to qualify and come up with the funds. Okay. Because that buyer has to have their down payment and qualify with the hard money lender. So this is where having a buyer's list with people that can fit the criteria. Okay. Frequently asked questions. Do I need a license? We've gone through that. The answer is no. How much money do you need to start? Fortunately, you do not need much money, if any at all. How much do real estate wholesalers make? We know that varies, okay, but it is very common to make anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000, 2 to 10,000, upwards to 30,000 per deal. But typically, what I'm seeing now is about 15,000, about 15,000 per deal. So let's wrap this up, guys. In conclusion, as you can see from all that you have read and learned today, becoming a real estate investor is one of the biggest and quickest steps you can take to generating wealth and leaving that legacy for your family. Real estate investing is a better and safer investment, all right, than the volatile stock market or up and down cryptocurrency investing. All right. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. So what happens next? What happens next? It is now time for you to say yes, yes to yes, because when you do that, like I said, you're saying yes to yourself. If you're still not sure where to start, book yourself a one-to-one coaching call with me. All right. Book yourself a call with me so that we can access your needs and better develop a strategy that is personalized for you to start real estate investing. Okay. And if you're ready to start investing, but you would like assistance along the way, you can also schedule a 60-minute virtual coaching session with me via my website. I do offer one-to-one training, taking you from A to Z in your fix and flip journey. If you're interested in learning how to fund it, find it, fix it, flip it, don't hesitate to visit my website and book your one-to-one today. All right. It was a pleasure teaching you guys today the real estate wholesaling class, the 7 steps to real estate wholesaling. I hope you've taken notes and you've learned, and I wish you much success on your wholesaling journey. If you're ready to get started, like I said, and become an elite member, you can certainly become an elite member of Profit from Property Academy, my one-to-one coaching program. It is a program that empowers you and it educates you on how to create a team of experts and professionals providing you education, property renovation, and of course, assistance with your exit strategy. So we have streamlined the entire process for you to provide continued support from real estate education to locating a property and how to negotiate a deal. Our program provides everything you need to invest confidently and strategically. What is included in the one-to-one coaching program is access to a complete team, including those contractors, financial experts, and legal advisors. Access to exclusive private forum where you get to ask questions to myself and my team and colleagues, exchange ideas, and create new connections in a closed forum. Quick start action plan that is personalized to fast track you to closing your first deal fast. Those funding resources, hard money and private funding, accountability, and support, and not to mention free admissions to PFP real estate events. All right. This is a $10,000 value, $10,000 value. Investment is usually $7,500, but today it's just $34.97 for those who are interested. Please follow me for more tips, more real estate investment tips at Yes to Yas Global on Instagram and Yes to Yas Global on Facebook and all social media outlets. So with that being said, guys, I want to again thank you and congratulate you. You have now just completed 7 steps to wholesaling real estate with Dr. Yas Anderson. Again, thank you and congratulations. I'll see you guys soon on the next video.